Hello, I'm Efnan, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and stuff they are sharing around the world today. On Newsfeed today.
I'm standing here in Hong Kong International Airport. I had flown in from New York with the hope of holding a press conference on Wednesday to release Human Rights Watch.
We tell you why the executive director of Human Rights Watch was denied entry into Hong Kong. We'll bring you reaction across social media to Senator Elizabeth Warren's epic response to Senator Bernie Sanders during Tuesday night's Democratic debate. And how the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, was surprised with an antitrust case during his trip to India. The executive director of Human Rights Watch, Kenneth Roth, has released the 2020 World Report. It reveals how the Chinese government has created a vast surveillance state in its efforts to achieve total social control. Here's Liz with a summary of the report and why it led to Roth being refused entry into Hong Kong.
I'm here to release this year's annual Human Rights Watch World Report.
This is not where it was supposed to happen. Human Rights Watch wanted to release its annual report in Hong Kong, but global head Kenneth Roth was barred from entry.
This time, for the first time, they blocked me. They didn't want me to hold the press conference. So I'm going to return to New York. I'll hold the press conference there. But sadly, this episode is just the latest evidence that the Chinese government is doing everything it can to undermine the enforcement of international human rights standards.
As if to underline his statement, the report accuses Beijing of threatening decades of progress made on global human rights, highlighting several violations ranging from the mass detention of Uyghur Muslims to increased censorship and the use of technologies for mass surveillance and social control. And it says while the international community has condemned the practices, it has done little to stop it from happening.
Abroad, the Chinese government is increasingly using its growing economic and diplomatic clout to silence critics and to carry out the most intense assaults on the global system for enforcing human rights that we've ever seen.
China rubbished the claims.
Their China-related remarks and China-related reports have always ignored facts and confused right and wrong. There is no objectivity at all, so it is not worth refuting at all.
China isn't the only country cited for human rights abuse. The report also points to serious violations by the warring parties in Syria and Yemen. Human Rights Watch say they're blatantly disregarding international rules by defying a ban on chemical weapons and bombing hospitals.
Tuesday marked the final debate between the 6 candidates fighting to become the Democratic presidential nominee for the upcoming U.S. election. One key takeaway from the debate was when Senator Bernie Sanders was put on the spot after he allegedly told Elizabeth Warren that a woman couldn't win the vote. Take a listen.
CNN reported yesterday that, and Senator Warren confirmed in a statement, that in 2018, you told her that you did not believe that a woman could win the election. Why did you say that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because this is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want. Anybody knows me, knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States. Go to YouTube today. There's a video of me 30 years ago talking about how a woman could become president of the United States. In 2015, I deferred, in fact, to Senator Warren. There was a movement to draft Senator Warren to run for president. And you know what? I stayed back. Senator Warren decided not to run, and I did run afterwards. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million votes. How could anybody in a million years not believe that a woman could become president of the United States?
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
I disagreed. Bernie is my friend, and I am not here to try to fight with Bernie. But look, this question about whether or not a woman can be president has been raised, and it's time for us to attack it head on. And I think the best way to talk about who can win is by looking at people's winning record. So, can a woman beat Donald Trump? Look at the men on this stage. Collectively, they have lost 10 elections. The only people on this stage who have won every single election that they've been in are the women, Amy and me.
Well, thousands took to Twitter and other social media outlets to support Warren's clapback at Sanders. Darth_Jared opposed what he described as the mentality around America not being ready for a lady president. Ashley Marie Preston said Warren's response shook the ground in Iowa, where the debate took place. And Chan Kobrick expressed his shock at Bernie's remarks, saying he is also an okay boomer and that many men of his generation refuse to accept women as equals. But criticism and hate wasn't the only thing that came in Bernie's way after the debate. Many have shown their love for the senator and praised the work he's done up until now. Robin Curran said during the first hour of tonight's debate, Bernie Sanders donors made more than 15,000 donations, a rate of $250 per minute. Secondly, it was the single best fundraising hour of any debate so far. Third, during that hour, we accounted for 43% of all money raised on Act Blue. Let's have a look now at some other things that caught our eye on social media. Apple has once again become the target of U.S. President Donald Trump in a battle over privacy versus security. Trump took to Twitter as usual, asking people to give the Justice Department access to phones used by the gunman in December's attack at a naval base in Florida. The American president brought up how he is helping Apple with trade and so many other issues, and yet it refuses to unlock phones used by killers, drug dealers, and other violent criminals. But Apple has rejected the accusation that it's failed to help officials. Well, maybe the tech company should expect some sanctions coming their way. Billie Eilish is making headlines once again in the music world with her latest gig. She is set to perform the theme song for the much-anticipated new James Bond movie, No Time to Die. Eilish is the youngest artist in history to write and record a theme song for the award-winning 007 franchise. And actors Will Smith and Martin Lawrence have made a grand entrance to the premiere of their new film, Bad Boys for Life, in Los Angeles. They arrived in a shiny Lamborghini, much to the delight of fans who have been waiting for this reunion for 17 long years. The much-anticipated film is set to hit theaters worldwide on January 17. The big boss of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, has once again been slapped by a new antitrust case, but this time it's in India. On Monday, the country's regulator opened a formal investigation into Amazon's practices, a little present for the billionaire during his first visit to India in 5 years.
Bezos, the founder of Amazon, is visiting India today. He is also addressing a number of people in a summit in India. And just as he arrived, he was greeted with a number of protests. You had a major trade body in India tweeting just earlier today, traders of Delhi, led by National Secretary, protesting at Jantar Mantar, Delhi against the India visit of Amazon chief. Protests happening all across India. There are a number of protests planned against Amazon and Flipkart, another indigenous e-commerce company. There are allegations that these two companies have been participating in unfair means where they are suppressing certain tradesmen. Jeff Bezos was also scheduled to meet with the Prime Minister and certain other key ministers from the Indian cabinet today, but so far there have been no confirmation. There are people online who are taking this as a sign that the Indian government is not willing to meet with Jeff Bezos and is standing in support of these traders. One individual tweeted today, "We appreciate and welcome this decision of Shri Piyush Goyal for respecting the sentiment of 7 crore traders of India and refusing to meet Amazon chief Jeff Bezos." Some people are also taking this opportunity online to speak out against the Washington Post, which is also owned by Jeff Bezos and has faced criticism for publishing news against the BJP government in India. This one individual tweeted, "World's biggest e-commerce business is in China. Amazon needs India more than India needs them. Time to squeeze them out for their anti-India Hindu Modi hatred," in Washington Post. So far, the news of Jeff Bezos meeting with the Indian Prime Minister are unconfirmed, but if it does go ahead, they might be meeting sometime today or tomorrow.
Let's go around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Wednesday. For the past 7 months, we've seen fights break out between anti-Beijing protesters and police in Hong Kong. And now it seems like the violence is going to escalate as officers may be armed with electroshock devices and net guns. Since June 2019, police have fired more than 16,000 rounds of tear gas, 10,000 rubber bullets, 2,000 baton rounds, and 19 live bullets. Stay safe, people. These aren't any ordinary knives. They were created to raise awareness about the increase in stabbings in England and Wales. Reports show that there were more than 44,000 offenses involving a knife or sharp object in 2019 alone. And this cutlery company has designed knives with square ends to support new government legislation that reclassifies the kitchen implement as an offensive weapon. James Murdoch has criticized his father's news outlets for their ongoing denial of the climate crisis. Murdoch-owned newspapers have repeatedly been casting doubt on the link between global heating and the bushfires in Australia. For example, Sky News Australia's Andrew Bolt said, "You have to be a child like Greta Thunberg to believe that there was a link between carbon emissions and bushfires," which, by the way, he describes as a fairy tale. Well, those blazes don't look very magical to me. How does canceling breakfast from now on sound? Well, according to Dr. Mehmet Oz, skipping the first meal of the day and rather eating when you're hungry is key to maintaining a healthy body. Well, that's according to his System 20 health plan, which promotes intermittent fasting. And he says that proves your endurance, resilience, and mental focus, or just hungry. Well, enough about the diet plans. Let's talk art. Paris Musée, which manages 14 leading art institutions in the French capital, has released 100,000 digital reproductions to the public. And the best part is that they're free. From archaeology to fashion and contemporary art, there's a range of collections to suit any individual. In Thailand, the hashtag Royal Motorcade has forced officials to change some of the traffic laws in the capital, Bangkok. Daniel explains why.
Bangkok is one of the worst cities in the world for traffic. It's ranked 11 according to a traffic analytics company, and every time a head of state or a VIP tries to move around the city, especially at a time like this, which is peak period, it causes chaos. Now, for most visiting heads of state, it's just something that happens very, very rarely. But for the Thai royal family and the king, anytime they move around, security protocols demand that they shut down the entire street. This causes chaos. Last year on Twitter, a hashtag trended under the hashtag Royal Motorcade. It's very rare to see any public discussion of the royals. They're incredibly revered here in Thailand, and they're also protected by very strong laws. You can go to jail for up to 15 years for any perceived insults. Now, earlier this year, just around the New Year holidays, a royal was visiting a southern Thai island, and again on Twitter, it became a trending hashtag. Perhaps as a result of this, or to try and mitigate Bangkok's terrible traffic, the king has announced that there's going to be a new security protocol that tries to alleviate some of the nightmare for commuters here. Now, when royals travel around the city, they're not going to close down entire roads. They're just going to close down a limited amount of lanes. That might not be a cure-all for Bangkok's traffic woes, but it will help.
And finally, on Wednesday's edition of Animals Doing Stuff, we have this absolutely adorable feline. This cat had no trouble fitting in with metro passengers in Istanbul's Fatih district. People have referred to the kitty as a law-abiding citizen as he waits patiently on the right-hand side of the escalator. What a perfect way to add some sweetness to your day. Well, that's all from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints, and suggestions at Efnanhan. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. See you soon.